Good evening, everyone. It's good to have you again on our special edition of Scorecard. Scorecard is an initiative of City Reports where we look at some of the policies of the current administration actually eschewing their 1 year anniversary. Come May 29, some governors in about 18 states will be marking 1 year anniversary. And also the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Ahmed Bola Tinubu will also be marking 1 year in office. On the 29th of May 2023, the president assumed office as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And on that day, he said subsidy is gone. But these are some of the things we'll be looking at in our interview today. Joining me via Zoom tonight is Comrade Umar Abdullahi Angibi, former Labour Party governorship candidate in the 2019 governorship election in Nasarawa State. He's also the former Labour Party state chairman in Nasarawa State, also the state chairman, IPAC, that's the collection of all political parties in Nasarawa. He's also the former staff of NTA and lecturer at NTA Television College, Jos. He is an educationist, public affairs analyst and commentator, broadcast media professional. He's a broadcast media professional. It's good to have you, sir. Good evening, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's good to have you. It's been long. I've not seen you for years.
Well, it's a couple of years since we saw.
Thank you, sir, for honoring our invitation to be on set. So let's
It's my
begin
pleasure.
this way. On the 29th of May 2023, this administration came in with so much expectations from Nigerians when the administration said it was actually renewed hope. But looking at 365 days, by Wednesday, 29th of May, to be 1 year anniversary, how will you rate this administration between the scale of 10 to 100? How will you rate the administration? Then we can take it from here.
Thank you for having me. Rating the administration in a bit of a problem, especially if you tend to generously give it a pass mark. You have issues with the collective force of Nigerians who may think that is not fair. And if you tend to give it too low a mark, you would also have issues with the administration that are so proud and confident that they have done really well within this space of 1 year. I would prefer to say that given the challenges that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came to find itself in from May 29th, and the actions he has taken or his administration has taken so far, one can say he has done sufficiently well to say in the near mark of 50. But of course, like the saying goes, he who wears the shoes feels the pinch. And so naturally, it depends on who you ask in Nigeria as citizens. There would be some that would give even beyond that mark. There are some that would say they've seen nothing at all good about what the administration has done so far. But like I said, the administration took off facing some really, really tough challenges. Putting those tough measures down was something that it was inevitable. But the question would be whether taking those measures, when I say the measures, one typical of the measures was like on the inaugural speech of Mr. President, he announced that subsidy has gone. Let us not forget that more or less he inherited the situation because the administration of Muhammadu Buhari had already planned it in such a way that the subsidy money that the government was given to service to the effect of the fuel was to stop in June of that year. So between May and June, that was the time period. So some people actually ask, say, perhaps the president coming into office, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, should have actually allowed himself to settle in the office and review the situation first before taking the measure. But the point is, based on what you're asking me to do to rate the administration, I'm trying to say that it is a 50-50 thing. To a majority of Nigerians who are feeling the hardships, based on these measures, will say they haven't, they cannot give it a fair mark. But on the side of government too, they would say they are trying everything they can, and so they deserve a pass mark. So I will leave it in the middle there.
Okay. I don't want to say you're trying to play safe here. But
Not
50-50.
exactly.
Okay, it's a nice
Yes.
one. But you make mention of the policies of the government, and that will take us to the economic policies of this administration. Picking from the removal of subsidy. Since the removal of subsidy, how's the economy be doing in Nigeria? How would you rate the economic policy of this government?
Well, in economic terms, it is not only the removal of the subsidy that is the issue. You would remember that the past administration had collected a lot of loans, especially in the last part of its administration. And that too added to the economic challenges that this administration has come to meet. So there's that, and there's the issue of balancing the naira to the dollar in terms of the exchange rate. And of course, removal of the subsidy has created some kind of chain reactions whereby goods and commodities and services in the market suddenly skyrocketed beyond the imagination of Nigerians. As a result, both getting the fuel to run the wheels of businesses was difficult. And then even it caused this effect in the market that everybody had to now adjust his own goods and services to meet the reality. So it has actually made life so difficult for Nigerians. And it is something that we are still passing through up to this moment as the administration clocks
Okay.
1 year. So
let me cut you here. So sorry to cut you here, sir.
yes.
Yesterday, the president made a speech. He said when he came in, the economy was bleeding, Nigeria was bleeding, but he has been able to stop the bleeding. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, I don't think from what he understand what he meant by stopping the bleeding, but to the ordinary Nigerians and most of us, we still see it bleeding up to this moment. So in the context that the president meant, to some of us, a large number of Nigerians, I think the country is still bleeding.
Okay, the country is still bleeding. Let's move on to security. Before the government came in, we had the issue of Boko Haram insecurity all over the country and the Fulani herdsmen challenges. But this is 1 year of this administration. How will you rate the security in the country? Are things better than before?
Well, in fairness to the administration, I think they have taken some really good measures in addressing the challenges. This is not to say that the threats are not there. And in order to actually deal with that too, there have been also some excesses on the part of the security measures taken. whereby there have been some kind of collateral consequences in the effort to deal with the insurgency and terrorism. You find that even innocent people have been affected, given the bombings in some of the places and some of the raids that ended up targeting the wrong people. But in fairness to the administration, one would say that they have considerably made some inroads into addressing the security challenges. But there are some target areas in the country that, particularly in the north, the northwest, the northeast, especially the Maiduguri area, that you still find a lot of these problems happening. But you would realize that even very recently, quite a number of people from, there are people captured in Sambisa, over around 300 or so of them have been rescued. So we cannot say that we are entirely there, that it's Uhuru yet. But if the government continues in the pace, with the pace that it is doing, maybe hopefully by the end of the coming year, we should be able to actually see the results in practical terms.
In the next coming years, we'll be able to see the result in the area of security. Let's also look at agriculture. Are there specific policies in this administration that you can point out or pick out to say this government is actually doing something for food security or improving agriculture in Nigeria?
Well, you know, the issue of the food security, which is also affected by the insurgency, because a lot of people from the remote areas where normally agricultural activities happen are the ones that have been chased out of their habitats or places of abode. And so it has affected agricultural productions. And added to that, because of the hardship that the removal of the subsidy came, we heard the president taking certain palliative measures in order to address that. And he made some pronouncements in terms of boosting agriculture in the country. But what remains to be seen is, because, you know, there's a time frame from between one measure to the other. But besides those pronouncements, we cannot say we have seen them in practical terms yet. And also, there have been no remarkable changes in the market in terms of the produce that you get, because these crops, especially grains, going beyond the reach of the ordinary man. So if there was actually something in terms of the food reserves that the government has said they are there to cushion the effect of the subsidy, or the measures taken to have thousands of hectares cultivated are done, maybe deep into the rainy season, we'll see changes. But personally, we haven't actually seen that yet. But in terms of policy statements, of course, the government, Mr. President, has made some really, really interesting statements there. But it is what we're waiting to see now in practical terms and on ground is what is there.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Let's take it even more higher now. Before this government came in, during the campaigns, there was a lot of concerns about Muslim tickets, is going to Islamize Nigeria and all the rest of them. But this 1 year we're talking about. Are there signs, are there reasons to doubt, or is there anything of concern to show that this government is religiously biased to a set of people? Is there anything to show?
Well, the issue of the injection of religion into the politics, especially in the campaigns, and then in the structure that brought the government in. When I say the structure now is how the parties distributed positions. That the North should have this, the West, Southwest should have, reflected those religion, region, and the one that resonated most, perhaps in the North, the Muslim ticket, that even some religious clerics made a meal of it, and so on and so forth. But to be fair to the administration too, and from the reactions we are getting, especially from here in the North, it would appear that that did not actually, it was expected to be, because those who are complete, the government at the moment are those are changed, even with the arrangements that appear to have pleased. So there doesn't appear to be any actions of government religious bias in what the president is doing.
Oh, that's good to know that there is nothing to show that the government is biased. Okay, I think you're having a network issue. At a point, your audio was just going off.
Okay.
Okay. After that, you are in the media industry. You're a professional, and
Yes.
when we talk about democracy, the media plays a very critical role to state that its government is actually practicing democracy. So, is
Yes.
there freedom of the press? There's press freedom in Nigeria and freedom of speech. Do we have that under this government 1 year?
Well, to be sincere, there are concerns that are common, especially that in a democratic setting, you see that the democratic administration appears to be uncomfortable with the press and with their activities. And there have been efforts, even proposals for legislation to sort of clip the wings of the press. And then there are other ones suggesting that even the social media, the citizen journalism, most of the time you find them there, appear to offend or frustrate most of these politicians. So there are strong issues and concerns, of course, concerning press freedom here at the moment. But it depends on who or the situation each side is trying to defend its actions. But the government, of course, will need to do more than what is happening right now because, like it is said, it is the fourth estate of the realm and part of the democratic arrangement too.
So basically, we'll say there's a relative freedom of
Relative, yes, but more needs to be done. Some more room needed to be given to the media and the press in order for them to operate freely, because it is not just enough for the press to be there if they don't have access to information. And if they take action, there are certain consequences, whether rightly or wrongly, in terms of arrest or harassment then you cannot say that the atmosphere is conducive. That is what I mean.
Okay. So now, still on press freedom, I'll just take it to opposition politics. You've had the opportunity to be in labor, and I'm sure you are out of labor now, maybe in APC.
Yes, I am.
Okay. So
Exactly.
if we have to look at this 1 year, is there any like stifling of opposition in Nigeria? Is there like an open space for everyone to play opposition politics? What is really going on?
Well, you see, the problem is more or less of party ideology. And since if you have a problem there, dividing the line between opposition and the ruling party is even difficult in this country. Because as it stands, you see some of the key players, even in the ruling party, are those who were confronting the ruling party during election period. But after the elections, um, the boundaries or the lines between opposition and the ruling party appears to have collapsed. Well, some people would say that because the problem is more of internal wranglings within the party itself. What do I mean? Take the PDP, for instance, which is supposed to be the main opposition party to the government, appear to have its own internal crisis, that they don't even have the time to challenge the policies and actions of government, or even be there to be the mouthpiece for the government, I mean, for the masses or the people. So also in the Labour Party, where they also have their own internal crisis. If you look around most of these parties, so to speak, and even some of the, I mean, those who were elected on these platforms of the opposition at the National Assembly or even state assemblies, you don't find their actions or behavior different in any way with that of the ruling party. You don't see any kind of policy opposition or actions taken or a standpoint, whether by the Labour Party or the PDP at the National Assembly. They appear to go on the same kind of train when it happens. So, but to answer your question directly, I don't think the government is stifling the opposition. You understand? If some of the wranglings you find within the opposition party, those who are on the seat there would claim they are instigated by the ruling party, but there are no proof to show that it is actually the ruling party or the president that is doing that. It is more or less the overambitions and zealousness of the people within the party who want to either take over the party in anticipation of the coming elections, or to use it as a tool to also to engage the ruling party. So, in my personal opinion, I don't see the opposition, I mean the ruling party, interfering much with the opposition as such.
So can we say this is good for our democracy? Is this good for our democracy?
Well, certainly it is not. It is not in the sense that for the democracy to work, they will need to begin to have some kind of ideological base on which these political parties will stand. Because now, if like the whistle is blown for any action to be taken, if another election should come now, you'll be surprised that depending on where it favors one, you find people from the ruling party running to go and join the opposition party, and those from the opposition running to join the ruling party, depending on where the situation favors their interest. So that is what I mean, that political parties will need to be on the basis of ideology. For instance, is it center left? Is it center right? Is it far right? Or is it far left? When we talk about these, who are pro-masses, when they talk about the progressives, are they talking in the interest of socialist political parties? Are they actually minding the interests of the people? If it is a capitalist government, then how does it sit down well with the kind of structure and the system we have in the country? These are the issues.
These are the issues. I've been speaking with Comrade Umar Angibi, and a former candidate of Labour Party in the 2019 governorship election in Nasarawa State. He was also the former chairman of Labour Party in Nasarawa State. We'll be looking at scorecard 1 year anniversary of the current administration, from the president down to the state governors. On the 29th of May, about 18 governors came in as new governors. And for this past 1 year, a lot of activities have been taking place in the state. So let's go down to the state level now. Out of these 18 governors, I'm sure you'll be able to cross across the country and you get like 5 or 10 that you can talk about. Let's just see how far we can go. Like, who and who can you say are the star governors for the past 1 year that you've seen that there's improvement, there's governance taking place in their states? Just a general view.
Well, that is a very difficult thing to say, because don't forget that when we are rating whether it is the federal government or we are rating the states, you would know that a chunk of the period in the year were devoted to legal matters, tribunals from the states, and then even the presidential election tribunal case, even though that one ended reasonably in good time, but some of the states had their cases in court for quite some time, so which was more or less a distraction, so to speak. But for the new governors, if we take, for instance, the Zamfara, the Katsina, the Kaduna state, in that axis, you would realize that most of them have come in facing challenges of security. And they have been so engaged in the challenge that most of their energies are devoted towards dealing with the issues of insurgency from Zamfara state, Katsina, and then particularly for Kaduna, where a large number of children in schools, you find them being abducted and all that. So it is difficult actually to say that you can pick one there and say this is what they have done. If we go down to the South, for instance, take Rivers State, for instance, the crisis there between the immediate past governor and the current minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, and his the one that succeeded him, Simina Bubara. It has been this crisis of the master and his boy, so to speak. Yeah, so that has also been, in my opinion, an impediment to whatever record of achievement one would say the government has achieved in that. In Oshun, even though he has and some of the states there, but the governors perhaps will have to give them more time in order to see.
So is 1 year not something to see that something good is actually coming from these governors?
Well, that they are facing, like whether it is in the north, the issues of security, on how much they have done in the areas of security and that, but there's a number of they need to deal with. And so also, even in the southeast or in the southwest, they have their own peculiar
challenges.
To me, there isn't much on their table for one to actually say they have done much
Okay, we're about rounding up. There isn't much to say about what they are doing, and you still feel that we should give them more time to see what they're able to do. But before we
Absolutely.
round up, I would like to know, were there things you were actually expecting from the president or the governors when they came in? Are you disappointed, or you still feel these people can still deliver on their mandates?
Well, disappointment wouldn't be the word to use, but that yes, there were high hopes and expectations when Africa, and particularly Nigeria, when you wait to see between the period, um, we celebrate the transition from one civilian administration to the other. So we were quite happy to see that the transition, I mean, the democratic experience is still extended. But given the kind of hardship that is happening, and perhaps the the cost of governance, it appears to be that between the political class and the masses, the gap is a bit wide in such a way that they need to bridge the gap to come and address those urgent social democracy as it is. Because from the national itself down to the and the governors don't understand the urgency in the issue of about people are going to continue to get and it is a thing of a border naturally. What the people
Your audio
are
is breaking. Your audio is breaking, and we are actually running out of time now. But in your parting word, what advice do you have for Nigerians and the governments as we look forward to another 1 year of this administration?
well, I would say for Nigerians, I know they have been very patient with the government so far, but I think we should be more patient and see what would happen in the coming year, especially that Mr. President, based on what you've said, that he has stopped the bleeding. Maybe from 29th, from 30th of May this year going down, we'll begin to see, in practical terms, changes in the economy and a reduction in the hardship or even the total removal, dealing with the hardship. For the government in the states, it is important that they also come down to the basics and address the challenges within their states and carry everyone along and avoid over politicking, so to speak, and then they forget the main issue that have brought them into office. Some of the governors are trying, but it is not enough, in my opinion, to begin to praise them because they have accepted to take on the challenge. So anything short of the best or of a very high mark is will not receive our commendation, so to speak. So we would actually ask them to do more so that people will be proud of democracy and people will be proud of the people of those they elected into office. And we are hoping that the hardship will also be dealt with in the coming years.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming on set to give your input and opinions about the current administration. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you've been watching City Report Media Chats, the special edition of Scorecard, where we x-ray the current administration, looking at their 1 year anniversary in office, looking at the challenges, the weakness, and the strong points of their governance. My name is Frederick, and I've been speaking with Comrade Umar Abdullahi Angibi, a former Labour Party governorship candidate in the 2019 election in Nasarawa State. He's also a former Labour Party chairman and the state's chairman, IPAC. He's also former staff of NTA and lecturer at NTA Television College, Jos. He is an educationist, public affairs analyst, and a broadcast media professional. So thank you very much, sir. But on the 12th of June, we'll be celebrating Democracy Day. And as an organization, City Report will be looking at maybe having a webinar to talk about democracy. But till then, we hope when we call on you, you will be available.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. It's been nice talking to you. So everyone watching us around the country and the globe, thanks for watching. My name is Frederick. Bye-bye. Till we see you again. Good night.